Welcome to Above and Below, the podcast of the Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention. My name is Sonya Bohmann, and I am the Executive Director of CIASP. Joining me today is, of course, my co-host, Zulq, as well as some guests that we have today, Ismet, Michelle, and Nick. Zulq, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Zulq Malik. I'm Sonya's sidekick, actually her co-host. I'm also a board member with CISP, but having been in the industry for almost 30 years, I want to be able to help educate the industry of why talking about mental health and mental fitness is going to be important.
Awesome. Ismet.
Good afternoon. My name is Ismet Dalipi. I'm the head of health and safety for North America for Unispace. We do interior fit-out and life science projects not only here in North America but globally. I've been in construction industry for over 20 years.
Great. Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle Walker, and I am a CISP board member and one of the founding members of the Alliance. And my day job is VP of Operations at SSC Underground, which is an underground construction company based in Phoenix, Arizona.
Thank you. And Nick.
Sure. So Nicholas DeJesse, I'm the owner of DeJesse Consultation Services and also the former Assistant Regional Administrator for OSHA in Region 3. I work with small and medium-sized employers and developing safety and health management systems with an emphasis on mental health and well-being.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, everyone. We're really excited for this conversation. And I personally just want to say, I'm so thrilled that I get to know people like all of you and the great things that you're doing for this industry. So let's get into the conversation. Other than the obvious statistics, why is this conversation so important? Who wants to take that one? Nothing like a mic drop right as we get started.
Real simple. We have an industry that is having a hard time attracting workforce talent. We talk about blue collar versus white collar. Nick, Ismet, and Michelle, we coined them construction warriors. And our construction warriors go to work every day. They work in unfinished spaces. They're dealing with the environment, whether it's above ground or below ground. And they're succumb to a lot of pressures. And the pressures aren't just always at work. They bring pressures from home, their personal lives. And this mental health is the next evolution of what we call safety management now on a job site. So unless we bring up the conversation and the piece, people are not going to talk about it. I come from an era where if you have an issue, here's your tissue and move on. We're going to change the dialogue, where it's okay to have issues. It's okay to hold on to the tissue. And it's okay for us to actually sit there and say, hey, how can I help you today? Or how can I help you find help? So that's why it's really important that we start this dialogue. And we've got some pretty esteemed professionals here, not only from the industry, from the board perspective, but Michelle represents a sector which actually works in some pretty gruesome environments from the perspective that the temperature below grade is not the temperature above grade.
Yeah. Well, Zulq, just building on two things that you said. One, the workforce issues that the industry is facing. And when we look at generational things, a lot of the barriers to the younger generation entering the construction workforce, if they list them, are very much in alignment to some of the risk factors for addressing mental health. And so I think that we can make it a more welcoming and inclusive industry by addressing mental health as part of our workplace wellness programs. And then the other thing that you talked about was safety. And we've been so focused on physical safety, but the reality is it's hard to expect anybody to really be able to 100% put forth the effort required to keep themselves and others physically safe on a job site if they're at the same time dealing with either mental health struggles, personal struggles that are impacting their ability to focus and work safely. And so really one can't be addressed without addressing the other. And it's unrealistic to think that we're going to keep people physically safe if they can't mentally focus on the work and the task at hand.
Other thoughts, guys?
Even the stereotypes growing up in construction from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, you're supposed to be big and tough and silent and not say anything and just kind of take it on the chin. And I've learned over the course of my own personal career, being a former roofer and being in an environment where you're always worrying about your physical mindset, it's having the conversations and just breaking down the stereotypes of construction workers to say that we are just more than big brutes that are going on job sites. We do have emotions, we do have feelings, and this is something that I've, even with my children, Sonya, we've discussed this, to let them know it's okay to reach out. And if there's a problem outside of what you're doing, we want to make sure that there's an ear. You can come up to myself or anybody on my team, and we've built that at Unispace to just come up to one of our team members and you can actually say, you know what, I need a break. I need to kind of walk away from something because I just need somebody to talk to. And this is something that I'm really happy to be a part of and having this very important conversation with all the folks out there. That there is somebody out there that will listen to you.
Yeah. So, Nick, I have a question for you. From your experience, talk about the need for psychological safety on a job site, because you're coming to this conversation from a different perspective than I think some of our other guests. Share what you have seen or what's manifesting itself out there.
Well, it's been slow. Let's put it that way. And it's been slow in coming. And I think, from what Michelle, Ismet, and also Zulq had stated, a lot of it is based upon the construction industry. Again, it's this bravado. It's this macho kind of, mindset kind of deal. And we're trying to knock down that wall, in all honesty, to where we can create a safe space for folks. We could create a safe space for workers. We could actually create a safe space for them to have a voice and voice what's going on with them. I will say there have been plenty of times where folks are bringing, and there's a book out there, I think it's called What's in Your Bucket. You don't know what's in anybody's bucket, honestly, when you go onto a work site. And you don't know what's coming with them, what they have been, taking with them as well. So the more that we can have these open conversations, I think what we have seen, or I have seen, especially with construction companies who have put their best foot forward, is that they're experiencing less injuries, less illnesses, and less fatalities based upon the fact that they are really concerned about and intentional about their worker health and safety, but also mental health and well-being.
So, from a safety professional standpoint, why are we still seeing resistance? What are you seeing on a job site?
It's the attitudes need to change. It's something in the industry that I've seen over the course of many, many years. It's this sometimes for some of the folks that I've come across, this is the only job they could get. This is the only, because they may have not gone to college. And even the decision where people saying to go to college or to go to trade school, there's more acceptance in saying it's okay to be a blue collar worker versus a white collar worker. You don't have to go to college. And so it's changing the mindset. It's been a journey. Let's use that word, because it's something that it's slowly, I can see where more people are embracing this every year. As I've gotten older, slowly but surely the mindset is slowly changing. And it's having more resources. It's having more conversations like this, having employers that are rallying around the cause as well makes the difference. So the more folks that we can reach, the more that we can get the word out there. It was the same thing with physical safety with OSHA. Everyone's like, oh, we don't need to do this. We haven't changed. But that was back when I first got in the industry, and it's completely evolved where people are now wearing their hard hats and they're wearing high vis and they're wearing safety glasses. It's changed. It's up to us as a society to kind of work towards this direction to have positive change.
So how do we get there faster? Throwing this out to the whole group, what do we need to do?
Drop your guard.
That's easier said than done. I mean, let's be real, right?
No, it's actually not that complicated. It's actually step back and realize that we're all humans, and we all have human characteristics that when we go to work, we're still humans. Something we dawned on last time, this is probably a benefit of Nicholas and Ismet and Michelle, more than 50% of their conscious day is spent on a job site.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, when you put that into stats, saying, hey, 50% of your conscious day is spent physically with your employer. And if the employers that are smart figure this out, go, wait a minute, if I give them the best experience possible, they're going to recruit their friends to come work for me. What a great way to recruit employees versus the company that's not going to recruit them.
So you said two things there. People need to drop their guard, but the company needs to create a different culture.
100%.
So do we, which one, what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, I think, sorry.
Yeah, go Michelle. Sorry. No, Michelle.
Well, I think it's part of creating that different culture is having leaders and having people within the organization that do drop that guard and do share their humanness and just the reality of being human and the stories of hope and the stories of struggle to overcome that allow and open up that space for others to say, okay, I can share and I can be real and I can be human too, because they've done it, they've overcome. And then also that, and they still have a job and the company didn't, they didn't get run out of here and nobody made fun of them and, those things. So I think it's almost they can be in tandem of dropping your guard and being that company and that leader that people feel safe to talk to.
The other, if you don't mind me jumping in, the other thing is also, I've got a very boots on the ground approach. If you're doing it, I'm doing it. I used to be a roofer. I physically did the work. I know what it's like when the weather, right? Zulq, you had mentioned about the weather, being up on the roof and it's 100 degrees out there in the summertime, and being up there when it's snowing and you're removing snow. It's really having that approach. Sitting in the office, I'm not going to be able to change the culture. So I go out into the field. I'm immersed. I'm with everybody else. I don't put myself, my title is not the most important thing in the world. So I can say my title, but I'm still a roofer. I'm still a child of immigrant parents, and knowing how tough it's been here in the States and working hard to achieve something. So when I'm out there having conversation with folks saying, it's okay, you don't have to do this. And even the clients, the script with the clients, even they're looking for more mental health programs that the GCs and the subcontractors may be engaged with.
Back to Sonya's original question is, you're looking to change culture, but you're also looking to implement a certain culture as well. And I think what folks have to realize, and Michelle touched on it a little bit from a leadership perspective, which is being vulnerable and showing your vulnerability and being authentic goes a long, long way, especially from a leadership perspective, especially the acknowledgement that everybody's going through something, the acknowledgement to say, okay, there are resources out there that can help you. This is the kind of culture we want to create because, as Zulq said, you're trying to recruit. You want people to know you have a company that actually cares about their workers. You want them to obviously show up, do a good task, be safe in doing so, but also go home at the end of the day and enjoy that day in some form or fashion as well.
Yeah, there was one of our previous podcasts, there was some stats that were shared that the numbers are into the 400,000 when there's a fatality on a job site. So if you want to talk about how to hemorrhage some cash, ignore it. Keep ignoring it. Keep hemorrhaging cash along the way.
Well, there's something else, Zulq, to let you know, which is, from a injury perspective. And here's a site, OSHA still has this site, it's called Safety Pays, and they will show you what direct costs are plus indirect costs. Plus, it'll also give you what kind of sales you have to make up. So, for example, I used this with a small employer last week. I showed them what a crushing injury cost at $67,000, plus the indirect cost about 1.1 times that. So we're about roughly $140,000 by the time we're done. But you need over $4.5 million in sales to offset that injury. So to me, it goes back to business sense. Like if I'm going to be this viable employer, if I'm going to lead by example, then I want to strive for these things to put people and set them up for success. And mental health and well-being has to be at the forefront of it.
Yeah, we touched on the idea of cultural shift, and it's not even necessarily a cultural shift, it's a cultural injection. So we're injecting something new into this environment of bravado, right? So, and I'm not going to say it's just gender specific, but anyone that's in the trades generally has this little, I can do it, right? I'm tough, you can't wear me down, and it doesn't matter what the gender is at that point in time, they all share those attributes. So one of the things, and Michelle, maybe we can just touch on you. I know that you're a huge advocate in your company. You're very high in the leadership position. What are ways that you found that help pivot and change the culture in your organization by injecting something new for your team? Because really, people who are listening need to know what steps can they take so that they can start. They need a starting point.
Right. Yeah. So it's everything we've talked about. It's that leadership. It's people believing that the leaders really believe in this and they really care about the people. So creating that culture of care. And I think that comes across in two. It's the same as with physical safety. We've talked about physical safety. I've alluded to it. But if people really believe that the only reason that companies are investing in physical safety is so that they can check the box and save money, then they're going to buy into it about that much. If they really believe that the company is doing this because they care about those people getting safe home every day, at the end of the day, back to their families and the things that they love and care about, then they're going to put that much more effort and care into, they're going to buy into the physical safety. And it's the same thing with the mental health and emotional well-being, is if the people think that the only reason that they're doing this is because it's the cool thing to do and everybody's talking about it, or because they want to save money, or, whatever it is, then they're going to, again, put that much into it. So it's creating the situations where you can really put your money where your mouth is. So situations here have been where somebody is really struggling and they've watched us come alongside them and help them and get them help. And again, you can say male or female, and you could talk about, women are the office gossips, but I'll tell you that
it's a guy.
News spreads through our crews like wildfire, And so
guys like a good gossip.
Good news and bad news. And so, those stories of the young man struggling and needing help and needing to get, some counseling and some resources, those stories spread through. And then if you can get those people to become advocates and be willing to share their stories, which is the harder piece of this is, it's one thing for leaders to share their stories. It's another thing still to break down some of those vulnerabilities within the blue-collar workforce. However,
construction warriors.
Construction warriors. I love it. I know. And that was my very favorite thing from the first episode was construction warriors. But that's really what they are, right? And that's where, again, kind of alluding to what you said earlier, Zulq, and that's what I like to tell people, is that it's not about changing construction and making it somewhere where everybody just comes, to work and hold hands and sings Kumbaya every day. Because the reality is, the reason we love this industry is because these construction warriors have that attitude of, I can get it done. There's no problem too big that I can't solve. And so, which are the great tendencies that we want in our people. It's what make them construction warriors. It's how do we build in the protective factors around those, recognizing that they can also be risk factors for their mental health and for them accessing care when they need it. And so, so doing the things that, and getting people comfortable with them. And I guess that would be my biggest takeaway to companies looking at doing this, or maybe just started and they feel like it's not going anywhere. It takes a while because people have to get used to being comfortable with these conversations. And so it's not something that the first time you bust out the toolbox talk on, substance misuse or on mental health, then everybody's suddenly going to have this big shift. It's doing that repeatedly. So, it took, years of every single safety meeting talking about mental health. One of the topics being mental health, accessing care. Where do you find care? What are warning signs? And letting people know that this is something that impacts not just them, but it also could help them with their families, with their friends, with their neighbors, that this is something that's going to help them universally. And just having the conversations over and over and over again, and then people start getting comfortable with it. And so it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's not an instant fix approach, but it's building those things and being consistent with them and letting people really know that you mean what you say.
I want to touch on one thing about your instant. You've mentioned on something that was really good here. It's not about an instant. It's not going to instantaneously change, right? So with some of the gray hair, and I think I kind of have the most right now, but with some of the gray hair on this call, except for Michelle, who is 21 years old, Nicholas, Ismet, I think you guys have been around where, even donning the hard hat was a trick, getting them to wear it every day, especially on the OSHA world. I'm sure you saw it. How long did you see that pattern shift before people started to see a physical change where it became habit?
So it took years. And I could use an analogous term right now, which is heat. I recall being in the field 20 plus years ago and talking about the effects or the impact of heat on the worker. And we are finally to a point now where they're talking about a standard. Now, we may not be in the same realm, obviously, for mental health and well-being, but going back to something Michelle said, she was actually lining up what we call in the organizational life a compelling case for change. That's exactly, so you're talking about injection. Well, we need to identify the resistance, though. What is the resistance for actually developing this compelling case for change? We have the statistics. We understand that a healthier worker, not only safety-wise, but health-wise, but mentally or emotionally and physically, is always going to be obviously more productive. Where's the resistance coming from? If we can identify that resistance, we can inject faster, actually, because we get rid of the resistance. But like Michelle said, it's not a one and done. It's not, and I hate to say this, but it's not just, hey, May is Mental Health Month or, September is Suicide Prevention Month. This is an everyday battle. This is not just a once-a-month kind of ordeal. This has to be every day. We have to be consistent in the messaging. We have to openly communicate what's going on, including expectations, and be there when people need us to be there.
No, thank you for sharing that. So, Ismet, I'm going to lean on you because I sense that you mentioned earlier immigrant family. You came from immigrant parents. So you're bringing some international culture into the equation. I'm going to jump out there and say Turkish. Close? Wasn't far. Far enough culturally speaking, but I wasn't far. Okay, so let's recognize the fact that this industry is made up of a whole bunch of different cultures. There's cultural ideologies that exist. So how, Ismet, bringing your background, how did you help implement some of the changes that help through the cultural diaspora that exists in construction?
So that's a great question, because there are just so many folks in construction. I mean, you just every language you could possibly imagine, and I've had the opportunity to take some of my life experiences from my father and my mother, my grandparents, and kind of explain how it is, and to be so stoic. That was really probably one of the words growing up. You had to be stoic. You couldn't show your emotions at all. It didn't matter what it was. And so being out in the field and on the camera, I'm 6'5", 260 pounds. So I'm fairly imposing when I kind of get onto the job site. So when people see me, they're just expecting to seeing, wow, look at this guy. But I wear my heart on my sleeve. And it has taken years of having conversations with folks. This was, like Michelle said, it didn't happen overnight. It's having that emotional intelligence to really tune in on the folks, because you can almost tell when people that are coming to the job site that have a cup of coffee and they're happy and they're ready to go, and all of a sudden they're off that particular day. You need to be in tune with that. And this is something that I've engaged with the folks on my team. We have our monthly meeting. The monthly meeting, sure, I go over my KPIs, I go over everything. But we'll talk, because, again, we're all across the U.S., what's our favorite burger joint? What's our favorite pizza place? So it's more or less, it's not just about health and safety, but having conversations with the team trust you, that they can turn to you with a problem. And they know that I will reach out to anyone on the leadership team and saying, we need to help these folks. If there's something going on, I know what the weather was just ridiculously hot here on the East Coast. You're in Arizona, Michelle, so you probably get it all the time. But for us, we're like, let's get some temporary air conditioning. Let's get an ice cream truck. We had ice pops. We have coolers. We provide water to and having the stand downs. And so it's a part of the relationship, because when I first got into construction, that never happened. It didn't exist. But because it happened to us doesn't mean you can't pay it forward. So taking those tools that I've learned over the course of many, many years, saying, hey, just because we put up with it doesn't mean the next generation has to. How can we build those relationships? And that's really the big thing at the end of the day. It's not the company you work for, it's the relationships you build. And knowing that I could turn to Sonya at a moment, and she's like, yep, Ismet, I'll do something not just for your job site, but I can also do something for your studios. And not only did she do something for our studios here on the East Coast, but we also had your organization participating with us in our London office, and we did something across the sea, across the pond, as they say. It's getting that message, and what we've learned over time really, really helps.
So is that what you're saying? And I think that's kind of one of the big things that I think what companies say, what can they do to really create this culture? It's building those relationships within your crews.
Yes.
Because the reality is we can all care as much as we want. We don't get to see every person every day. And so it's building those, putting an emphasis on the importance of that teamwork and that culture within the crews themselves, because they're the ones that get to know each other and get to watch out for each other and identify those changes. Because, of course, we all, we know, but one of the things that we, teach as we're talking about warning signs is it's not one instant. You're not going to walk up to somebody that you've never met, and it's going to be hard to identify those warning signs. It's the changes. It's the change. It's the slide in attitude. It's the slide in attendance. It's the slide in safety. It's the slide in caring. Those changes need to be identified, and so building those teams that can not only identify the changes, but that also have a strong enough relationship that they have that permission to approach somebody and have that conversation are so important. So I think that's kind of number one that companies can focus on right away is putting crews in place that stay together as much as possible. So not just doing the mixing pot of people, but then also emphasizing and doing those little things of, letting the foreman go buy lunch for the crew, or, letting them, encouraging them to take off early and spend some time together, and it not always be just kind of the pressure cooker environment of getting the job done. I think that's so huge.
But it also helps, being bilingual, because again, being immigrant parents, is understanding that even that's another hurdle. So is it Spanish? Is it Portuguese? Is it Chinese? Is it Polish? You name the language, it kind of run across. So when other people will hear me switch into Albanian, when I'll come across a crew, they're like, oh, wait a second. He gets us. He understands. And then I'm like, okay, so what language? And then I'll find somebody who can translate and saying, hey, we should be focused on this. What about this? So even those toolbox talks that are predominantly English and Spanish, I will find somebody who speaks the language. Doesn't matter what it is. And obviously you use Google Translate, but having somebody who can translate and saying, okay, this is the same message across the board, it does help. And you get that camaraderie, like, wait a second, this person gets us.
I think Zulq and I are about to say the same thing.
No, I was
we
going
just
to
had a really great conversation around language for Mental Health Month, or for Minority Mental Health Month.
Yeah. So actually, Ismet, you touched on something, and Michelle, you also touched on something. And in one of our earlier recordings, we had a conversation about there was a loss on a job site, and somebody took it upon them to go visit the job site with some McDonald's. So when you did ice cream on your job site, Ismet, what do you think that cost? $200, $300, $400?
About, which is nothing. I mean, I would pay out of my own pocket, which I've done, so I don't even think about the cost.
So, Michelle, I'm pretty confident to say that you probably provided refreshments, a bite to eat for your guys in the field, celebrated them. We're talking hundreds of bucks?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah. So really, I think we're all kind of saying the same thing, that for a couple $100, food gets you to talk. The ability to culturally connect with workers is probably paramount right now, because there is this cultural diversity that, sometimes gets fueled by politics, that gets fueled by social media. It's very important that we all engage on a cultural level, because if Ismet and I can connect and we have a commonality, which might be cultural, might be food, it might be language, there's a chance that if I'm in trouble, I might be able to reach out to Ismet, or better yet, Ismet might understand some of my cultural nuances. And our industry, and Nicholas, you've probably been to one too many job sites, it's like United Nations on a job site nowadays, right?
Oh, absolutely. Going back a step, though, Michelle and Ismet were talking about, and we call it in the organizational world, especially when I'm training leaders, is relationship over task. Yep. When you develop the relationship with folks, the task comes automatically, and it will come part and parcel, because those individuals, and Ismet hit the word, which was trust. You're gaining their trust. You're establishing trust. There's integrity that goes along with that, and you're communicating with these folks. It pays off. It's not a tough investment up front, and you're talking about, recognition, things like that. I'll make you laugh. When I was still at the agency, they didn't supply water to the folks to go out into the field. Think about that. So what did Nick and DeJesse go out and do? Buy cases of water, buy Gatorade, and things of that nature. We used to stock, and they were like, Nick, you can't use federal funds. I'm like, I'm using my own pocket. I mean, these are my people. I have to take care of my people. They're going to be exposed potentially to the same elements that the workers are. So how can I treat them any differently? I have to practice what I preach. If I'm practicing what I'm preaching, then folks actually will, obviously follow suit.
I just think we had a whole conversation with our safety director last week about switching from Gatorade to body armor, because the guys just really like it better. And it's like, what an easy thing to do, but it's that. It's why are we, how can we show that we're really listening? And she's like, I'm out on the jobs. I see what they bring. It's body armor. It's not Gatorade. We need to stop buying them Gatorade. They really want body armor. Easy, but it's paying attention. It's showing that you care at that minute level.
Yeah, that the difference between Gatorade and body armor is we're talking about pennies.
Right.
Right. It's not a big thing. That's awesome. I haven't had body armor yet, so I'm going to have to go and try it.
I'll send you.
I get tips.
Michelle, a while ago, you and I had a conversation, and it was really around physical safety, and we were talking about heat safety specifically. And one of the things that you talked about that I think kind of goes towards this culture of care, but equating the physical safety and the mental health aspect of it, was that you can't wait for that one person to say, and you guys might have covered this while I was having my little power outage. You can't wait for that one person to say, like, I need a break. you have to build that into everybody's practice so that that one person doesn't feel like they're standing out, or that they are being sort of segregated, or that they're slowing everyone else down. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we made this change.
The kind of creating
Yeah, a couple of years ago we implemented this because what we found was that it was especially in newer team members who haven't been acclimated to the heat and working outside. They're the ones experiencing the most heat-related issues, but they're also the least resistant to say, I need to take a break, because they're trying to, prove themselves on the crew and show what they can do, and, show that they're tough and they can do it. And so we implemented, if anyone feels like they need to take a break, the whole crew takes a break, so that it's not one person, I'm sitting up and doing nothing while the crew is, everybody else is still working, so that there's no one person feeling like they're not contributing. So switching it from, you're hot, you go, sit in the shade, or you sit in the cooling area, and everybody else keeps working because they're tough and they can, power through it. No, it's like if one person feels the heat, the whole crew shuts down for 10 or 15 minutes to take a cool down break, so that one person isn't feeling singled out. And the reality is just acknowledging if one person is feeling it, probably everybody else is. They're just not willing to be the one to speak up and say it. And so that's really gone a long ways towards really almost eliminating heat-related illnesses, which is a big thing to say in Arizona, because we don't have the people that are like, well, I'm just going to grab a drink and keep powering through because I don't want to make people feel like that. And equating it to, with mental health, again, if you're experiencing something and you speak up, or you've experienced something and you have that story of hope or overcoming to share, it's worth sharing it, because guaranteed you're not the only person dealing with it. So just like the person who's experiencing heat isn't the only person that's really feeling it, but they're the ones that are going to speak up, it's making sure that if you are experiencing something and you need help, you can speak up, knowing that everybody else has probably dealt with something similar. Or if you have experienced something and you have some hope to share with somebody, to be bold and share that, because chances are they're needing that, or they've experienced the same thing.
Yeah, I think as an industry we've come a long way from saying "suck it up, buttercup" like that. We don't need to do that anymore. And chances are, if one person's feeling the stress or the fatigue, they all are, right? Some just a little bit better at it. But I actually want to, because of this, the nuance of the safety professionals and the ownership and leadership side of a company, I want us to touch on a topic. I know it's not on the script, but don't worry about it. Is helping people understand that mental health and mental fitness is the next era of physical fitness on a job site. Because a lot of the accidents you probably see on job sites right now are probably because people are distracted from something else that's going on beyond the job site. Right? So something that's influencing them in their mental space, be it at home, their personal life, financial life, social life, all of those eventually play an influence on the job site, which turn into physical safety issues. Right? So I'm going to jump out to you, Nicholas, since you're super quiet for me, and Sonya's back again, but we're going to do this with you. How do we get people to understand and stress that mental health is the newest form of physical health on a job site? Because if we just keep ignoring it, the stats are just going to keep going the wrong direction.
Yeah, I think first and foremost we have to acknowledge it. We can't make it this slow kind of, hey, we have 25 more years to make it really part and parcel into our operations. I think we need to get out there. I think we need to do better public outreach. I think we need to better education. I think the sharing of the statistics, like you're talking about, Zulq, go a long way. But I think really we have to have difficult or crucial conversations with companies and with employers and with employees alike. And, in this area, at least out in Philadelphia, I work with the union, work with, labor safety and health councils and things of that nature. And this is one of the key aspects that we can continue to talk about. And we also we're trying to do a summit right now to bring as many people into this summit. I mean, 3 years ago, I don't know how, but I ran into Sonya somehow. And, as I'm talking to Sonya about what can we do for industry, I suddenly said, wait a second, what can I do for my own folks as well? And then Sonya did a wonderful couple talks for us as time went along. And again, it's that recognition of this is a major component right now, because mental health, along with physical health, emotional health, it's all wrapped together. It's hard to unwind. And Zulq, I think you gave a lot of the reasons why, between some of the stressors that are out there, social media, just the pace that we run right now, technology or technological advancements and things of that nature. It's all part of that big bucket. And trying to unravel it, it can be a difficult task. Whereas actually being inclusive of it and bringing it into the conversation, I think we'll go further and will actually be more impactful on a sooner kind of schedule, rather than, hey, similar to going back to what Michelle was talking about. 25 years ago, we were talking about heat, but we were not doing the things we needed to do to protect the workforce. We're finally 25 years later. That's not a sustainable model, if you think about it, for the folks that are out there. Because as you said, we're seeing more injuries, we're seeing more illnesses. Unfortunately, the fatality number has not changed for the past 15 years. And this, I believe, is a part of it, for sure. People's mental health and well-being, especially when they show up to the job site, especially when they might be, dealing with some type of anxiety or some type of depression. They need to have the space to actually tell people about this. If not, we're going through this continuous cycle over and over again, and we're never going to break it. We're just never going to break it. And we need to.
And Zulq, it's really that's kind of part of my, again, in the eras of trying things out here and how do you get people to connect to this topic. It's really just asking the crews, as you're talking about mental health or suicide prevention, and they're kind of giving you a look like, why are you talking to me about this? And just asking the question of, somebody shows up, you think something's off with this person who I work with every day, but something seems off, or he's really stressed, or I know that he's having trouble with his kids, or his wife left him, or whatever. This stuff, and you're choosing to just ignore it. And you're 30 feet down in a pit while this person is lowering equipment and materials over you every single day. Do you really want that person dealing with that level of distraction and that level of, they're not focusing on what they're doing? Do you really want to put yourself in that situation where your life is literally in that person's hands without talking about these issues? And it's a way of really breaking it down and saying it matters. Like, you should care about the person first, but if you're not going to care about the person, pretty sure you care about yourself enough to say, hey, I might need to speak up to this person. So it's a way to bring people into the conversation, make them think about it in a way that they might not have before.
So, Ismet, I'm going to just ask you a quick question. What are your thoughts about your health and safety policy actually including a whole section on mental health? Because that's an easy change for companies.
That's an easy change for the company. So it's something that I've already had the conversation with the CEO, with the folks here. Again, Sonya's kind of got a chance with Rose Williams. I'm going to do a shout out to her. She's fantastic. We've already had this conversation over the past several years. So it's made it so easy, and it's made it so to kind of incorporate into our safety manual, incorporate into our meetings, our toolbox talks. It's something that really we've evolved over the course of the years. So we're fast tracking it, not only here in North America, but globally. So that's really important for us, that we're not sitting, like I know Nicholas had mentioned, it takes a long time. We're trying to implement it. What else can we do? What else can we do? What else can we do? What other resources out there? What other partners that we can work with? What guest speakers can we have? The more that we get the message out there, we can kind of turn it around for ourselves, because Unispace's reach, we deal with so many companies across the North America and globally with a lot of trade partners. So we can get the message out there a little bit faster, even if it's just, we can say a day in advance to say it's something that really could help all of us. And that's really where our mission is. So the buy-in is from the top down. We are all in on getting the support message out to everybody.
Well, at the end of the day, it's good to talk about it. It's good to tell people you need to listen. You need to listen. We need to start giving the small, medium enterprise the tools. And I know that CISP, their mandate is to put everything out there, not behind a paywall, which is a great attribute of CISP. And really getting these small, medium enterprises to the stage where the mental fitness is going to be part of the physical safety requirements on a job site. And that will probably be a quick change for a lot of companies. Ismet, just from an international perspective, it's just as culturally taboo to talk about suicide in Asia and in Europe as it is in North America. So it's not like, oh my God, over there they're just way more comfortable to talk about it. No. There's religious, cultural influences that say not a good omen.
Yeah, when I have conversations with my global counterparts, it's part of the conversation. So it's very easy for us to talk about it because we will meet on a global level and we will have the conversations. What are you doing in North America? What are you doing in England? What are you doing in India and Australia and New Zealand? We are having those conversations internally, and we're spreading the message out there that this is definitely a topic that we need to embrace and can get out there. I know from personal experience, Sonya knows some of the conversations I had when we had our mental week conversation, mental health month. It's something that it's really important to kind of get it out there. So whatever we can do to and I keep saying this, but whatever we can do to kind of support this, we're all in. The other thing is,
for us as an industry, like I don't think employers shouldn't be necessarily looking to themselves. Really, it's a victory for the whole industry.
Absolutely, because even clients are requesting this. So just understand this. Even when we're doing RFIs, the clients will come back and say, "Okay, what does your safety manual say about mental health? What are you doing? What are conversations you're having?" So even the clients are starting to embrace this message. It's something that they're asking us, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This is the who, what, when, where, why, how." So it's getting out there, and now it's our job to kind of take where's the torchbearers at the beginning. So Nicholas, you said something that with OSHA 25 years ago. 20 years from now, somebody's going to be like, "Oh, I remember when we first started having this conversation, but wow, look how far we've come." And that would be a wonderful day.
I would be remiss. I just have to jump in when we're talking about policies. And when you talk about having a policy about mental health, the bigger, or I think even more important piece is addressing in your policies what's taking out things from your policies that prevent you from addressing mental
100%.
health and substance misuse. So making sure that there are second chance agreements, taking out progressive discipline that, doesn't allow you to help the person who's having performance issues because of it. So really not just adding to, but studying and removing from your policies things that prevent you from helping people through these challenges.
Thank you for sharing that, Michelle, because I think it's very important because really, if you look at it, the industry as a whole, the workers are very transient. So they may not be with you today because of progressive issues that you think were issues. They're only going to go to somebody else, and it's just going to start all over again. So we kind of owe it on ourselves as an entire ecosystem, and it doesn't matter if you're in the design community or you're the ownership community, you're the contracting community, or you're in the legislative community. We have one big ecosystem where we're actually the same workforce, just moving them around. We're really playing checkers with each other. So it's upon all of us. And Nicholas is like, "Yep, that's us." Right.
Yeah, I would get that all the time, actually, not just in this realm, but from a safety and health perspective, because, and I'll use the unions as the example. Company A may not like the performance of one individual for whatever reason, and they just, they call recycling. They send them back to the hall, and then the hall sends them to another job site. But you don't know what's going on with that individual. You don't know, obviously, the level of training, why they didn't like their performance. There's never that conversation that goes to the next company. So you don't know, in a sense, and I hate to use the word inherit, but you don't know really what you're inheriting on the site when it comes to that. So, it's a great way to look at it as an ecosystem, Zulq, for sure, to say, we all are part of this, topic. And not only that, we all have some ideas on how we could actually get it to where we need to get it to.
Having said that, we actually have a word that of the year for each of us. All of us as board members have a word. I know Michelle has one, Sonya has one, I have one, and Ismet and Nicholas, we're going to ask you guys, what is your word of the year? I'm going to let Michelle go first, give you guys a chance to think about it. Michelle, your word of the year.
I even have my bracelet. So
nice. That makes me look bad. Thanks, Michelle.
So my word of the year was acceptance, and it's just working towards accepting. It's kind of works in a myriad of different things, but in this instance, it's accepting that there is an issue in the industry and accepting that it is going to take all hands on deck to address it. And so each one of us and each one of our organizations is only one, but every one that we impact is going to move this needle along on the chart. But just accepting that each of us can only do what we can do, but anything we can do is better than nothing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Are you guys ready to share your own, or do you guys need more inspiration?
Oh, good.
I'm good as well.
Fire away, buddy.
Okay, so for me, it's focus. I use focus not only in my personal life, but my professional life. My kids, my daughter, plays volleyball, and my son's in soccer, and with my wife with a career, we are to stay focused. This is something, if you want your dream to come true, if you want something to happen, you have to stay focused on it. Kind of like the saying, keep your eye on the prize. So it's even when we're sitting and trying to do something like this, it's really to stay focused. It's great to have you got all of these distractions from everywhere bombarding you all the time. But if you can stay focused, you can get through it. As difficult as it could be, you can get through it. And this is really where we've implemented in my family is that would be the magic word, focus.
I love that. I love that you rolled it into your whole family. So it's great. Thank you for sharing this. But Nicholas.
Well, my word's going to be opportunity. And, you know, Michelle sort of kind of took one of my hashtags that I always put up there on LinkedIn and some other social media sites, which is move the needle. You know, we have to start moving the needle, not just in this space when it comes to mental health, but also in construction as a whole, especially when it comes to safety and health issues and fatalities and things of that nature. So right now I feel blessed that I have the opportunity to have this voice and to be here, you know, sharing this time with you folks and with CIASP and, you know, going out to small and medium-sized employers to share this information and say, hey, this can be done. We just have to acknowledge it. We have to understand what the resistance is, and we have to build toward it. Let's build it and start moving it, and that's what the opportunity is.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicholas. And it's true. This is, I mean, if we stay laser-focused and we take the opportunity, I think we can really get there. I'm happy to share Sonya's. Hers is intentionality. So she wants to lead by intentionality and really focus her time on that. And I just put myself out there, vulnerability. So, for those of you seeing it, I'm proud to be a girl dad. I'm grateful. My word, it's been for the last few years being grateful. I am the child of immigrant parents to Canada. Everyone's got a mountain to climb. I didn't have a mountain to climb when it came from a career perspective. It went pretty well. And all of that. My mountain to climb was to become a dad. And it took a little over 7 years. So I'm grateful that today I get to spend all this time with you guys. I get to proudly walk around with a pink bottle, get made fun of everywhere I go. That's okay. I'm cool with that. I'm just grateful to be a dad and grateful to be in a space with cool people like you guys to help share that, because along the way, it got dark. When you're trying to become a dad and most people roll over on their partner and boom, 9 months later they have one. It took a lot of effort and time and resources to become a father, with a lot of punches in the guts. And I know I'm not alone. I know there's a lot of people in the construction community that are being challenged by becoming parents, and they really want it. So I'm just going to say to you, don't give up. Just, it'll happen with time. So on that note, I want to thank every one of you guys for your time. Our CISP's board members are volunteers. We thank you for volunteering your time with us today and helping spread the cause. And we look forward to what the future may hold. So thank you very much.